Good morning, sir. How are you today?
Hello, good afternoon, sir. I'm okay. I'm great.
Good. Do you mind share? I don't know if we can just put on the screen. Um, I was gonna just ask like a pop question in the beginning, like, do you think there are such people as math people? I don't know, something like that. But I was thinking maybe we can have that on the screen while we wait, if you know what I mean, before I play the song.
Oh, all right.
But do you see what I mean? Maybe we just generate one with Claude or something like that,
Yeah,
just like a
yeah.
thumbnail.
Oh, yeah, I'm fine. I want to do that using Manus.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Maybe you can start the webinar, engage them for it. It's just me like 15 minutes into the webinar. I'll be able to come in and join you. I'm teaching Christian apologetics to some lovely some lovely 11 and 13-year-olds, right? So just I'll join you. But yes, I'm following the competition. I'll respond on the cash. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Good morning. We'll get started in 1 second here. We just have a song to play and then we'll get started. Hello again. Good morning. Our guest is logging in here shortly. I will go ahead and get our live stream started. Thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Chinon, so I believe you have a question that we're going to have the audience start with. Is that right? So do you think there are math people? So today we have a question of the day. Do you think there are math people? Do you mind putting your answer in the chat? Yes or no? Do we think that there's such a thing as math people? That is people that are just good at math, like from birth. Okay, that's good. Okay, that's interesting. And if you ever want to elaborate more, of course, we'll be more than happy to hear some of your thoughts on why you think so. Um, I am going to, let's see, a few more responses. Let's see. Thank you, Josh, for your response there. Do we think that there are math people? Okay, yes. Okay, that's interesting. We're gonna have to have maybe at the end we can have a little bit of a dialogue over that question. Let me see if we have. Let's see. Okay, I'm just pulling up. Let's see. Perfect. Okay. Hello, everyone. Okay, excellent. So, was getting yeses are winning. That yes, they are. Okay, someone said there are, but they're not born that way. Okay. Today is a little bit more of a casual day. For those of you who've been joining the webinars, Mr. Tarfa, Mr. Amos, that's my name. I seem to have been staying too formal with the suit, but today we're going to keep it casual. We're going to talk about a few things. We're talking about mathematics today with Mr. Yinka. Let me share my screen here. Give me 1 second. So we're going to have, let's see. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our session on Mathematics for All. Later, after we'd made the flyer, I thought about changing the name to Mathematics Excellence for All. And part of what Mr. Yinka and I will be discussing today is this question or this issue of how do you help people become very good at mathematics? Now, I'm going to, we started with a question, and if you're just joining us, please feel free to give us your thoughts. Do you think that there is such a thing as a math person? Do you think that some people are born good at math and others are not? This is one of the things that Mr. Yinka and I will be tackling today. Is how do you help people become very good at mathematics, right? And the thing that I want us to keep in mind is it's not enough to just get your child to meet the state standards. There's more to the story, and that's part of what we're going to be discussing today. So he's going to be joining us in about 5 minutes. He's just finishing up another meeting. I'll give you a brief intro of who he is, how we met, and what we'll be discussing today. Our webinar will go for about an hour, but we're only going to speak for probably about 25, 30 minutes, and then we'll leave parents and students to ask questions. I hope that students have come ready with many questions to ask. So let's take a step back. How did I meet Mr. Yinka? That's the first key question. This teaches us a lesson about networking. So students, if you're listening, please remember networking matters. Networking matters. So if you have opportunities to network, try to do that. So here's what happened. A few years ago, I made a video about an economist on YouTube. So on my YouTube channel, I made a video about an economist, okay? So I made a video about an economist, Thomas Sowell, and somebody reached out to me and said, hey, I've read some of his material. I would like to talk. Okay, so then we started talking. And I was learning more about this person myself, so I was just sharing about what I had learned about this economist. And then my friend, who we became friends, right? So it started out with just a conversation about a similar interests. So students, when you meet people, try to find out if you have any similar interests with them. That's always a good place to build a relationship sometimes from. So we start discussing about our similar interests. And then what happened was that same friend introduced me to somebody else. That person's wife was the principal of a school in Abuja, Nigeria. I went to Abuja, Nigeria, and I met with the principal when I was in town. I got to learn more about their school. Now, I grew up in Nigeria. My parents, were in the Northeast, and then we moved to Lagos. But they live in Abuja. That's a little bit of my background. Now I'm based in the U.S. near Colorado. I live in a state called Wyoming, which when I tell people the state of Wyoming, sometimes they wonder, is that even a state? Yes, it is. It's the least populated state in America. I was in Texas before coming to Wyoming. And so we're helping in Wyoming with an MIT. We did an MIT program for Wyoming, and we're hoping to build out more MIT sort of preparation tools for people in Wyoming. So that's how for people in other places, but Wyoming is sort of my focus. I also would love to help your kids, and kids, if you're on the call, I would love to tell you how to get into schools like MIT, Princeton, Harvard. And we're going to do a full webinar on that in 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from now, please put it on your calendars. We're meeting with someone who's at Oxford University, but attended an Ivy League in America, and he helps people go to universities like MIT, Harvard. So anyways, we're going to have a big meeting in 2 weeks just focused on how to get your child into top universities. It's not enough to get into the top universities, though. You also need to be able to pay, right? So you either get a full scholarship or we find a different plan. And those are things that we'll be discussing. We want you to go to college for free if you're willing to put in the work. So here's what happened. So I went to Abuja, I met a school, and then I came back. And one of the things that happened was the principal of that school said, I need you to meet somebody. His name is Mr. Yinka, and you guys will get along. I think you guys will be great friends. And so we met, and since then we've kept in touch. He's the CEO of a company called Lead Learning in Nigeria, and their vision is very similar to mine. As a matter of fact, they're building applications and math curriculum materials that match exactly with some of what I'm doing. So we're going to come together and collaborate so that we can get every child in the world to love mathematics. That's our goal. Every child in the world love mathematics and become very good at it. And so today he and I will be talking about this issue about how to be good at math. So let me just share a few slides, and then we're going to switch over to more of a panel discussion between he and I, and you guys are welcome to ask any questions. By the way, if you already have questions, you're welcome to jump in with your questions. So let me go ahead and and go on with the slides here. So what does it take to become great at mathematics? That's the question I want to answer today. So becoming great at mathematics, I hope you guys can all see my screen. Chinonso, are we good on the screen?
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. So look, here's a few things to keep in mind. We're going to try and run through these pretty quick. We already did a little bit of a poll. Is there such a thing as a math person? By the way, there's an answer to that question. So I will answer that question. I promise. Just give me a second. Why being good at math is misunderstood. We're going to meet Mr. Teddy Molla, as we said. The 5 habits of math excellence, I would call them. Grade band playbook. So parents, if you have a child who is in preschool to 5th grade, and then 6th to 8th grade, and then 9th to 12th grade, and then college, there's different things for you to keep in mind. I am thinking already that we might have to start preparing for sort of a part 2 because there's so much to cover. But let's see how far we can get. So then what are your questions? I'm actually going to pull that up so that your questions can start coming sooner. And then what is your plan for Monday, parents, for your kids? Or what are your kids' plans for Monday? Before we go any further, I want to tell parents something on the call. And students, if you're listening, I want to encourage you with something. If you are meeting the standards of your state standards, no matter where you live, but especially if you live in America, if you're meeting the standards, I'm sorry, it's insufficient by far. If you're just meeting the standards, you're actually behind. And I am holding here in my hands, and actually, let me stop sharing for a second. I'm holding here in my hands some books that Mr. Yinka might mention. Parents, I don't know if you guys remember this. For those who are from Nigeria or West Africa, do you guys remember New General Mathematics? New General Mathematics 1, New General Mathematics 2, New General Mathematics 3, things like that, right? And so if your children are going to school in America, do you know that they don't cover most of this? That means that a child who graduates from a school in Nigeria is already by far ahead of a child in America. Same age, right? Here's my proof. So I order these books regularly, and I actually plan to I have 2 sets that are coming into Houston over the next few days. And I plan to keep this and to keep distributing them to families in America. We want to make sure that if you're in America, your math background is not such that you're being left behind. And so here's what the table of contents says. Let's go to the table of contents. This is the table of contents for what children in Nigeria are doing. I want to highlight chapter 10. It says differentiation, calculus 1. Calculus, again, integration. So parents, here's the deal. This book is actually the one that everybody uses. I'm not talking about the one that the advanced math students use. No, this is the basic mathematics for Nigerian students. Wow. Do you know in America, only 15% of students take calculus? So parents, one advice right away, order yourself this, find somebody in Nigeria to send it to you, and let your children, right? You can let me know, I have only a few copies, but let your children take this and let it become a supplement for their learning. These books are beautiful, right? And some of the parents on the call, there's also chemistry, there's physics. Why am I mentioning this? Well, one of the things that Mr. Yinka's company does is they teach kids, right? They teach kids New General Mathematics, they teach them the American curriculum, but I think it's very important that we raise the bar and not lower it for kids. So is there such a thing as a math person? Let me answer this. I think Mr. Yinka is here with us, but let me answer it and then we'll hear his own perspective. So I think, give me 1 second. I think that there is not the thing that we call math people. I think it's a misunderstood thing. This man is known as the greatest mathematician in history. And one of the greatest, right? Some people would argue that Isaac Newton was the greatest, but if it's just mathematics, this is probably the greatest. So parents, this is another book that every child, like if your child, I joke and say, if they have to eat gari next month instead of having coffee or whatever, let them eat gari so that you have this book. This book will change your child's life in math. Because, and I'll tell you why, this man is known as the greatest mathematician in history. His name is Leonhard Euler, or Euler. And the reason why his story is fascinating is that he went blind in both eyes later in life. Why is that interesting? He had to dictate his math notes to people, and he dictated his notes to his tailor. And do you know that his tailor became very good at mathematics? Okay, that means that the methods you use to learn math matter a lot. And what is the first chapter of this guy's book? Let's go to chapter 1. Chapter 1 of his book, right? This is the greatest mathematician. By the way, do you guys know Bernoulli's principle? How airplanes fly? They call it Bernoulli's principle. Do you know that Daniel Bernoulli was his classmate, okay, or his colleague? And Daniel Bernoulli's father was his teacher or his tutor. So what we need to realize then is that your teacher matters a lot when it comes to mathematics. And I thank God for my teachers, for people like Mr. Essien, for Mrs. Bello in Air Force Primary School, Victoria Island, Lagos, all the way to Federal Government College, Lagos, Ijani King, right? My teachers built a strong foundation. But the other thing that is important is that you need to believe that you can do it and recognize that with the right tools, you can become good at it. So the key to becoming good at mathematics is recognizing that math is gettable. It's gettable, it's understandable, and it is actually the easiest subject. It is, because the rules of math have not changed in the last 4,000 years for the most part, and they're not going to change next week. So therefore, children, if you're on the call, when you go to school, do your best to make sure that you understand, make sure you understand that every math problem has a pattern and understand what the pattern is. And that's what mathematics partly is about. So what was chapter 1 of his book? So please, if someone from my team can just post this in the chat, Elements of Algebra, Leonhard Euler. It's on Amazon. It's pretty cheap. And it was written in 1750. You guys could check it out. So here's what he starts his book with. He says, what is mathematics? That's his first chapter. The greatest mathematician starts with, what is mathematics? What is addition? What is addition? What is subtraction? Like, how can he be talking like that? Like, this guy is responsible for a lot of things we know in mathematics. The foundation matters. That's the point. The foundation matters. And Euler's book, I think, will be great. And then, as I said to parents, years ago, we had somebody who told me, Amos, maybe someday you need to create a program that brings Nigerian textbooks to America. That's what they said. Because they realized these guys come, like we come, okay, he's from China. And he said, he's originally, I think his parents are from China or Taiwan. And he's like, you need to make sure that you, how do you bring that rigor that you have in Nigeria to America? Well, if you're in Houston, Texas, these books are going to be there for you. So you can go find it. Okay. Let's quickly add on while I bring up Mr. Yinka. Mr. Chinonso, what is our poll so far? Do people think that people are born as math people, or do we think that people can become good at math?
Right, yeah, thank you so much. Most of our respondents have said yes, so they believe that there are math people.
Okay. What do you think, Mr. Chinonso? What is the answer to that? Mr. Chinonso is one of our let's call him our moderators and supporters in this quest, and also one of our operations lead. Go ahead, sir. In partnership, we're working with his organization to transform education in Nigeria. But go ahead, Chinonso.
All right, yeah, thank you so much. So, okay, so for me, there's nothing like a math person. It's a myth. So everybody can learn math. Everyone can learn math, and nobody is born with an innate skill to just perform well in math. Everybody can learn math when they are exposed to the right materials, have the right resources. So anybody can learn math, anybody. And so there is something that people always say that, oh, this person is gifted in math and I am not. So we love to tell our students and also our parents that there's nothing like that. And every child has the ability to learn math and do well in math. Yeah.
So, and even Mr. Chinonso, it's a funny thing that he told me his story that he actually wasn't good at math according to the school standards, and he didn't do well on his exams, but he went back and he worked hard, and today Mr. Chinonso is helping kids literally to get perfect scores on the SAT. That is pretty cool. So let's now go back to the slides. Mr. Yinka, Chinonso, please promote Mr. Yinka once he's as one of the participants. If you could just promote him as a panelist, please. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so let's finish this sentence. Let me reshare my screen. How do we find the book? Somebody's asking. Please, if you just give Mr. Chinonso, we'll put our email in the chat. We have a few of the copies in Houston, but by God's grace, we're actually going to have a whole bookstore of books, because the reality is the rigor of Nigeria is part of why I am where I am today. And that rigor needs to be given to every single child. So let us look at a couple of things. So when you were in school, how would you finish this sentence? When I was in school, mathematics was, can we please think about it and fill in the gap? When I was in school, mathematics was dash. Can we be honest about our answers? If you want to share your answer in the chat, feel free to do that as well. When I was in school, mathematics was dash. Something I was good at, something I survived, something I feared, something nobody ever explained to me. Okay, so something that I was good at. So some students I see are good at it, good work. Somebody said something I survived. Okay, very good. Okay, well, here's the good news. With the right training, anybody can become pretty good at math, actually. Do you know that Mr. Amos here, who, people will joke and say Amos the math guy, right? I mean, I was pretty good at it in elementary school, and then I got into high school, and I hit a roadblock at some point. And in Nigeria, there's something where you can skip primary 6. So you go from primary 5 to JSS 1, it's called junior secondary school. And so I went into JSS 1, and some of the classmates that I had were very good. They came from very good schools as well. And I will be honest with you, I was a little bit intimidated after my first report card. We were taking 17 subjects, and I came out as not number 1, and I was used to being number 1. So that was kind of strange for me, and I actually never recovered from that. But I will tell you, so I graduated, I was the head boy, they call it, and all that. But there were times where I doubted myself, because if you go from being the best in your primary school and then you go into a secondary school and you're no longer the best, sometimes it takes time. That confidence is something we need to build. Okay, so anyways, mathematics can be understood. So as I said, Mr. Yinka Tedimola is the Chief Executive Officer of Lead Learning Nigeria. Lead Learning provides academic coaching and tutoring services delivered remotely from Abuja to students across Nigeria and beyond. He works with students on both sides of the problem that we're dealing with, the ones who fell behind early and the ones who are passing exams without understanding. And so when we look at, give me 1 second. Yeah, when we look at the two sides of this, we have students who are very good in math, and we have students who sometimes struggle. What we need to do is say, those who are good in math, number one, we should never slow them down from going to their full potential. We need to give them opportunities to keep pushing forward so that they can reach their full potential. And those who are behind, we need to give them the confidence to boost them forward in mathematics so that they can learn how to get on track and move at the pace of their mastery. But nobody is being left out of the conversation. Whether you're behind or you're ahead, you should still be pushing forward and getting better daily. So we'll ask Mr. Yinka about what does it take to rebuild foundations, what to do when a student is years behind, what are the study habits that move people forward, how do they coach students of his own? I mean, they are doing a lot of work coaching students around Nigeria and around even in America and the other parts of the world. What does that look like, and what are they seeing as things that are working well for many students? And then how do we prepare for exams without cramming? The other thing I forgot to mention about Mr. Yinka is that he's actually an engineer by training first. His first degree is in engineering. And so it's pretty cool to see that an engineer can jump into the math field and make waves in math education. So parents, after today, and students after today, my hope is that you will stop thinking of yourself just as, I guess I'm just okay in math, and you start thinking of yourself in, I am going to be the best that I can be. I am not going to take the summers off. I'm going to keep learning math year round. And I think that's how you get to your destination. Okay, very good. Any questions, thoughts, comments, objections before we get started? I'm just going to pause. Are there any questions? And please, guests, is it letting you to chat? Are you able to type in the chat? Any questions, thoughts, comments, any ideas or anything? Okay, perfect. Are there any things that you want Mr. Yinka and I to answer regarding math education in general? Okay, perfect. No questions. Okay, let's press on. How to approach gaps. Okay. This is a research study or part of a research study. And parents, you can check out the author at the bottom there. Mathematical ability is built. It is not issued at birth. Mathematical idea is built. It is not issued at birth. Nobody is a math person. There are only students who have accumulated the right practice and students who have not. The whole question is not what that practice looks like, right? What does that practice look like? And none of it actually costs a lot of money. Some of the greatest mathematicians in history were actually people that all they had was a book and commitment. A book and commitment. I'm going to talk about another book here in a second about a guy called Srinivasa Ramanujan. And he was poor. He was from India. And he was given an opportunity to basically go to Cambridge University to study. How did he get this opportunity? Well, he got this opportunity because when he was in school, he actually failed about twice. So he basically like dropped out. Okay. And the reason was partly because he was really obsessed with, in a sense, he was going to become really obsessed with math. But I think part of it was also his status in society financially. And so Ramanujan graduated, quote unquote, or he finished those years of school, and he got a job working as a clerk in India. And he was doing math for fun on the side. And what ended up happening was, and I'll just stop sharing for a second. Let me show you guys the book again. So what happened was he encountered this book. So parents, this is a book called A Synopsis of Elementary Results in Pure and Applied Mathematics. A synopsis of elementary results in pure and applied mathematics. And Ramanujan got this book and he was reading it and he was studying it and he was doing some of his proofs. And what ended up happening was that Ramanujan's co-workers told him, why don't you send your paper to Cambridge University? Now, if anybody knows anything about Cambridge University, there's a certain individual at Cambridge University called Isaac Newton who lived from 1640. Well, he went to Cambridge from about 1661 to 1666. He was born in 1642. But Ramanujan ends up going to Cambridge. Okay, so he gets. But how did he get to Cambridge? Well, the first thing to realize is that he was self-taught. Now, we can argue about maybe he had a little bit of math genes, but he was pretty much self-taught. And Ramanujan, what he did was someone said, send your notebooks to Cambridge. So students, I want to plead with you, right? I was going to find my book from Ejanikin. I still have my notebooks from secondary school, from 2005. One of the saddest realities in America. Let me speak as a dad. My wife and I have 7 kids and we homeschool, but I want to just talk about American education, which I've been helping students for about 20 years in the American education system. Do you know that students in America don't take notes? Students in America don't take notes. Can you believe that reality? That somehow we allow students to go through the school system in America and we don't force them to take notes. I believe that this is a huge problem. Give me 1 second. I see, let's see. Okay, lead learning. Okay, Mr. Yinka, go ahead. He's going to just join me on the screen here. Let me add his video. If you don't mind, feel free to, let's see, add the video. Let's see. Okay, we're good now. Or you could just go with the audio. No problem, sir. Sorry, Mr. Yinka, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I'm trying to turn on my video. I'm not sure.
No problem.
I don't think maybe because I'm a member or something, not a panel or something, you know, so.
No problem. I'll try and add you there. But I'll finish the story, Mr. Yinka, and then maybe you help us answer the question, how to fix gaps for students.
Yes,
So this guy wrote a letter to Cambridge University. Imagine parents getting an email. You know those spam emails you get sometimes where somebody says you have money that your uncle left for you, stuff like that, right? So imagine writing a letter to Cambridge University, like the Cambridge University with the greatest physicist, mathematician in history. And you tell them, here's my work and here's my notebooks. So students, You tell them, here's my notebooks, which if anybody knows Euler, they'll find this interesting. Somebody gave me this as a gift from the MIT class I was teaching. But here's the thing. Imagine you have your notebook. You now tell Cambridge, here are my notes. Do you know that the Cambridge professor saw his notes and said, I'm going to give him a chance? Guys, this is one of the greatest mathematicians in history today. This guy. So, well, not the guy who wrote the book, but the guy who read the book, Ramanujan. The point I'm trying to make is this. Even if you're poor, you can become good at math. As a matter of fact, math is one of the subjects that, again, you have nothing. You don't have a lab. You just have your brain and you have pen and paper and you can change the world. Do you know that the whole AI revolution is built on math? The whole thing is math. And that math is actually part of Isaac Newton's work. So let me end the story by saying this. When he went to Cambridge, somebody said to him, you are like Euler. That's what they said about Ramanujan. You are like Euler. What did they mean by that? They said, you guys believe math is beautiful. Parents, here's the key to success in math. Get your kids to say what I just said, and your kids will be so good at math, their school won't know what to do with them. And that's what you want. Parents, you want your child's school to say this to you. Mrs. Jones, we don't know what to do with your son. That is success. That tells them that your child goes outside the box because they shouldn't be in the box. Your child is capable of so much more, but they just need the right coaching like Euler had and like Euler gave others. Okay, Mr. Yinka, Oya, over to you. Let me see if we can add the camera. So how do we fix gaps? What are your initial thoughts? Is math something you're born with? Or, as I said to them, I don't believe it's issued at birth. You can become good at it. Over to you.
All right, good. I guess it's, I don't know, from all over the world, but for I think for US it's good afternoon, yeah. For Nigeria, it's good. For Nigeria, it's good evening. No, US is good morning. Yes, Nigeria is good evening. UK, I guess, is good something. Thank you so much for joining the call, and apologies for being late. Thank you so much, Mr. Amos. You see, when Mr. Amos is done talking, usually, and I'm now supposed to speak after him, I don't have as much energy, so you guys just have to bear with me, so that it doesn't feel like, oh, maybe you're going down or something. So I don't have as much energy as Mr. Amos. Yeah, but that being said, is math something you're born with? I don't think so. So a bit of my background, I studied engineering, and I probably would be one of those people that you would say was naturally good with numbers. So I didn't have to go through, but I wasn't naturally good at a lot of other things. But when I came into the space of education, somehow I just found myself drawn towards the kids who needed gaps, who had gaps and needed filling. And so I stayed in that space I've been in that space for the most part. And I can say that math is probably the easiest subject to learn. Math is probably, and math also, interestingly, is the easiest subject to help a child build confidence academically. And I'm picking my words carefully. So math is the best subject to help a child build their confidence academically. A child that is good with numbers, even if the child is not good with anything else, that child, just because the child is good with numbers, the child's, confidence will be through the roof. A child that is not good with numbers, most times, that confidence thing doesn't just, if you even just do a quick research, world's smartest people, and see how many of them, are in that space of math, logic, analytics, right? So I would say that why did I say that math is the easiest subject to fix? First of all, I know that the reason why math is seems to be the most difficult subject for most students is because of the way it's being taught. Example, let me take a subject like biology. I don't need to know so much about the circulatory system, right? To learn about and I'm speaking at high school level at least, to learn about cell theory. So most of the other subjects are pretty much standalone. For math, everything builds one or the other. So the meaning is that if, and I deal with this just about every day, for every child, as long as there's a gap at any point in that child's learning, that's the end of it, or pretty much could be the end of it, absent individualized intervention. Now, what happens in schools, because I've taught in schools also many times, is that I have a curriculum to cover. I have weeks to run through that curriculum. So, of course, it's more of a system than a support for anybody. I know, again, I've been in the school, so we'll say differentiation and this and that. They'll throw all those words at you as parents, but there's usually a limit to what you can do. So I can say that it's usually difficult to find somebody who got better at math because they were in a generalized space. It's usually, and in fact, if you do your research on what percentage of tutoring worldwide, like again, K to 12 is math, you will be surprised. Probably more than 50%. Most of the requests we also get as a company in Nigeria here from UK, US, and all of that. It's around math. Okay. So how do you fix those gaps? One, you take a diagnostics. Again, I've done this so many times. So you take a diagnostic, you notice where the gap is, and you begin to patiently walk through those skills. You ensure that there is nothing that you need to learn a new topic that you do not already have. So once you have that position, right, once you operate that way, that there is nothing that, if I'm going to teach a topic, for instance, let's say I'm going to teach, okay, let's go primary school so that we do something that kids, that parents are more familiar with. So let's say I'm supposed to teach fractions, for instance. So fraction operations. That child must have understood the idea of lowest common multiples, right? And then they must also be able to, in fact, to understand lowest common multiples, you need to know how to divide, right? So you must have done factors and multiples. To do that, you need to know how to divide. To know how to divide, you need to know how to multiply. To know how to multiply, you need to know how to add and subtract. So if a child maybe, did not master their tables, again, now notice I'm saying master their tables, not I know it because I can count. Again, that's one of the mistakes that a lot of parents make. If a child cannot tell you what 7 times 9 is in 3 seconds, then I would recommend that you sit on that coursework. We do that a lot in Nigeria. They don't do that a lot in the US. But I would advise that you sit on that coursework. Why? Because when your child has to divide numbers or do something that it requires you to go back to your tables again and again, if they have to count every single time, they get frustrated. So you could say, oh, I know it, I can get it. But then at the same time, you actually cannot make progress. So these are the realities that we have to deal with. So you find out where that block is and then patiently begin to now build that child. Now, when you're building that, you'll be doing 2 things. Number one, you will be building the skills itself. But then secondly, you will begin to build the confidence in the child that I can do this. Oh, it's actually possible. Again, that child will probably not have been able to do that with at grade level work. But when you bring them down to that space where it's more easily manageable and you are conscious of their psychology, and I'll speak about that in a bit, then they now begin to believe that they can do it. And suddenly it's almost like a light bulb turns on. Like I've done this so many times that I can say it with predictability that if we give a child time, the outcomes will be the same. What do I mean by the psychological space? So for instance, I have to recognize that, okay, my camera is not still up. Okay. I have to recognize that the same effort that it will take somebody maybe at the same age to solve a linear equations with fractions and decimals and whatever, right? The same effort to take somebody age 13 to do that might be the exact same effort that it would take another student at that grade level to master their tables 2 by 2 and 3 by 3. So when I am commending, the emotions I show must be commensurate. So sometimes it's a bit interesting because we can, oh my God, you've done so well. We are making a lot of noise and all of that because you have to get that child psyched about what they are doing at their level. So there are a lot of things that we've learned over time. Anyway, long story short, but the summary of it is the way you fill gaps is through mastery-based learning. You take a diagnostic test, you fill out, you now notice where the gaps are. And then with surgical precision, you then begin to work, on skill after skill, skill after skill. It might take a while, but you eventually get there. Now, the other positive thing to mastery-based learning is that you can accelerate your child's learning. I have a student in grade 10 right now that is taking undergraduate calculus and undergraduate physics. He's in grade 10. The last SAT he did, 10, was in 9 at the time. He had the perfect score in math. I think English, he missed some things in English, but again, same thing. So right now he's taking undergraduate level math. And then again, the American curriculum is so flexible that you can pretty much do whatever you want to do with your time and with your money. Again, that's if you're not in the main construct, though, even in support spaces, right? So that's what the guy is doing right now. And it's so amazing to watch. I'm just looking at the guy and I'm like, wow, the portfolio this guy will have when he wants to apply to university would just be crazy. That portfolio would just be crazy. Like that's for the academics bit at least, So, Mr. Amos, over to you. I don't know if you have other questions you want me to answer. I hope I didn't overspeak.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Yinka. Please, parents, if you have any questions or students, please feel free to ask Mr. Yinka. Feel free to ask any of the questions. I will probably give you a question or two here in a second. Parents, you should be able to see our screen right now. You should see the different grade levels. Can you tell us what grade level your child is in, please? That would be great. If the students, feel free to state what grade level you're in. That would be wonderful. And then I think, Mr. Yinka, your video should give you an answer here shortly. Okay, so somebody's going into 7th and so on. Perfect. Okay, and I put your email in the chat for Mr. Yinka. Okay, 6th grade. Let Mr. Amos go on his rant for 1 second, Mr. Yinka. By the way, Mr. Yinka, in the email I sent to the parents, I put a link. So when I went to Nigeria last year, Mr. Yinka and I, one of my friends who's a music producer, he helped us get a studio, and Mr. Yinka and I recorded videos. Our goal was to solve math education globally. So please watch the videos, I beg. we went out to our hearts with our heart cry, right? And so please, someone from my team, you should have received the email for the webinar. Can you put it in the chat of the podcast with Mr. Yinka and I? Then Mr. Yinka took me to several schools to speak, and it was a wonderful time. And so anyways, we thank God. By the grace of God, Mr. Yinka and I, by the grace of God, we will help 1 billion children to love mathematics. Like at least 1 billion. Amen. Right? By God's grace. What we are saying is the children must love maths. We don't want them to just be good at maths. We want them to love maths, right? And since Mr. Yinka's video is here, I'll put it on in a second. But parents, look at these grade bands. Grade 1 to 5, 6 to 8, 9 to 12, college. Do you know there are college students that can't add fractions today? That tells us something very interesting. Your age does not matter when it comes to mathematics, fundamentally. What matters is your mastery. Where are you? Where's your mastery? So parents, I'll tell you 2 things you can help your children with. One of them is when your child comes back from school and you say, what did you learn in school? And your child says, oh, we just did, what do you call it? We did lesson 17. We did lesson 17 in the textbook, right? So your child just said something like, oh, we did lesson 17. Parents, that is one of the worst things somebody can say. So what they should say is, we did factoring polynomials where the leading coefficient was not 1, and I understood it. Now we're talking. What is lesson 17? What is page 29? The problem is too many students, especially in America, we just go with the flow. We go with the flow. And then I was in the state of Missouri, and one of the children said something to me. I was so upset. I asked them, where is your math notebook? They said to me, my teacher said I could throw away the papers after the lesson. Hey, how can you throw away your notes? How are you going to study? I have hardly met an American student with a notebook that was like close to even just average of what we grew up with. And parents, I'm saying this in love. We need notes. I've been to Isaac Newton's house. These are Isaac Newton's writings right here. This is his handwriting. We still have, he died in 1727. We have his notes. Who are we not to have notes, right? So parents, note taking is so critical, but some schools undermine it. And it really is painful to see. So anyways, we have the podcast. Our goal is get every child to love mathematics, become good at it, and begin to help their friends become good at it. By the way, students, if you're on this call and you want to become a teaching assistant, we actually have some positions opening up. So if you want to come, start getting experience, you could put it on your resume when you apply to MIT or Princeton or Harvard. I was a teaching assistant. Does that make sense? I was a teaching assistant helping. That was part of my resume, on top of the advanced math classes you're taking. So parents, I really want to encourage you to remind your children, every topic they learn, they need to know what is the pattern I'm trying to master, right? That's the key. What is the pattern that I'm trying to master? So yes, I see one already. Thank you so much. I would love to work with you on that to be a TA. Okay, Mr. Yinka, I have a couple more slides and that's it. It's just Q&A. Parents, any other question for Mr. Yinka before we begin to wrap up? So this is Mr. Yinka. He's like my twin brother. You know, we are on a mission. And by the grace of God, yes, we do work in Abuja and in Nigeria, but we're also adding Kenya and Rwanda and Zambia this year and Ghana as well. So how can we get Africa? By the way, let me say one secret for Africa. Mr. Yinka, tell me what you think. Push back if you think this is wrong. I think Africa has a chance right now to capture mathematics, right? Because some schools are underfunded. So at least focus on the subject that doesn't need labs. Just make your kids the best in mathematics. And then let AI companies start begging us to say, can we have your students to help us write code? What do you think?
So Nigeria has and Africa has the young population. So we have the population, and then we also have human resource, very driven. Again, I can speak for Nigeria at least. Very driven human resources that can be put to work. So if we have a long-term plan to have this as a thing, it can easily be done. It can easily be done. Again, it can easily be done. So I'm with you on that. I think it's absolutely possible, sir.
Do you know that Cambridge exam a few years ago, parents, I don't know if you know this, but around 2 years ago, the winner of that Cambridge exam was a Nigerian girl. Like one of those international, it was a Nigerian girl.
They're always up there.
So what is interesting then, parents, is this. So Mr. Yinka, let's talk about this collaboration while we wait for any other questions. And then but please, if you have any other questions, thoughts, comments, objections, please put them in the chat for us. Mr. Yinka, we have parents with children in middle school and high school, mostly. We actually don't have elementary really on this call. So maybe we'll do a different session for elementary parents. But everybody seems to be in the 5th to 12th grade window. So Mr. Yinka, one of the things that I think is interesting is there a way that lead learning, your students in Nigeria and our students in America, can they catch the fire together? Is there a way they can kind of collaborate? Because here's why I say that. When I go to Nigeria sometimes, I see hunger. Do you, based on what you've seen, is there a hunger of students, like I must do well in Nigeria, that maybe is a little different in other places where you teach?
Yes, definitely so. So, Nigeria, we still have that what's it called now? Again, I don't know I don't know what percentage of the call, had Nigerian parents and all of that, but we don't play here. We don't play here. Nigeria is that space where you will tell your dad that you had 95% on an assessment and he will ask you for the remaining 5 marks, or he will say something as sarcastic as did I pay 95% of your school fees? Not that kind of thing, like, where's the change? That kind of thing, why settle? And yes, so with many of the students that are in that we have to work with abroad, you find out that for many of them, it's almost like, and I have this conversation a lot, it's almost like their parents want these realities for them more than the students want it for themselves. And that's not how it works. I think one of what is really missing right now with the educational space is we need more of inspiration than information. And I say this everywhere I have an opportunity to speak. information cannot be the problem today. Any student that tells me that information is the problem, I'll be like, yeah, look, if you don't get something, right, there are like many places you could have gone to get that information. If you open YouTube and you want to learn organic chemistry today, if you don't like one tutor, there's another one. If you don't like another one, there's another one. If you don't like another one, there's another one. If you want to watch Canada. So a parent sent a student to me, they do that a lot. Oh, the grades were not good. Oh, speak to my daughter and all of that. And so when I brought out the grades and started talking to the girl, I just said, what I did last, it's just that you don't want it. I told her straight up to her face. And I'm like, I didn't spend up to 30 minutes. I was like, I'm not going to discuss with you because you are not inspired to want this and you won't be in my space to, do that and stuff. So I'm saying that parents, and that's why I love Mr. Amos. I think that, like, if I had children that were of age, I'll go and drop them in his house or something. And maybe when they hear Euler and they hear Newton and they just keep on going back and forth which is why, and I love that so much because for a lot of students now, they're asking, what's the point? One thing they haven't realized is maybe because of the AI revolution and the what's the other one that Meta is doing against of AI and there's another
quantum stuff coming too.
Yeah, the quantum stuff. No, there's the virtual reality. That's what I was thinking about. Yes, so the AI, the virtual reality, and they're watching future and they're feeling like, oh, we are already in the future that we already imagined. If we begin to think that way, or if we allow them have this mindset, who will build the future that would be that this would now be the past for? There was never really a time that, what they had at the time did not seem unique or did not seem so important. I remember when cyber cafes, and again, I don't know if you have people that remember what, you go there, you buy your 10 minutes, you go to Miniclip. Very weird, those weird stuff, right? You go to Miniclip, you play games, you buy 10 minutes and all of that. Baby, I genuinely thought that the world was broken. I remember Yahoo
Chat. I used to use it to look at lyrics of songs.
I remember Yahoo Messenger. Do you understand? I remember Yahoo Messenger, like, all those things. And honestly, at the time, I remember the first time I played, oh my God, I remember the first time I played PS1. All those things. I really thought that the world was broken. Like, this was the end. Now, look at all of those things now, right? So I have started to force myself to think in the direction of the future. That what we have now is not the most. If we allow our children to think this way, in fact, let me say it this way. When we had that last webinar, there was something that we both agreed on. That whilst a lot of educational systems are thinking that AI will break learning, we both agreed, I don't know if you remember, that what AI would do is that AI would increase the divide between the potential of students that want to learn and the ones that don't want to learn.
Yes.
So your job as a parent is to make sure that your child is in the space of the ones that want to learn.
Yep.
Right? And again, as a side note, a lot of our kids are also being carried away. I don't know if you have students on this call, because sometimes
we have some students.
Okay. I forgot. I forgot I have Americans on the call because I was already doing my like knock, for. Anyway, I'm sorry. Before I get cancelled,
I knock myself.
Like, you don't want to give them because someone comes and you're like, I want to be Mr. Beast and I want to be the next Mr. Beast, or I want to be the next Messi or the next Ronaldo and all of that. And I get, but I've also seen, Mr. Amos, I don't know if I expect that you'll be, like in the space of probability, right?
Yep.
There is something called expected outcome,
yep.
Right? That's to say that if the probability of getting something is 10%, right, but the cash price is maybe 200, then that means that the expected outcome of that deal is 20. Because 10% of 200 is 20. So if you win or if you lose, last, you can take a bet on 20 on that deal of 0.10 times 200. Yep. So I did a research and I did the expected outcome of all of these careers. So being a YouTuber, being a footballer, being, all of this other, I just, took a lot of them and I put them side by side with even what we call conventional options right now. And you know that the conventional options still has like 7x on these other ones. And the reason why is because while these other ones seem like they are high end, the actual probability of getting into that space is really low. Is that me? I don't know if there's a.
No, I can hear you.
Okay, so the probability. So
let me say that in
when you combine
language.
Okay.
So what Mr. Yinka is saying is the probability of becoming Mr. Beast or a celebrity and so on, that probability is way smaller than a conventional pathway of becoming a doctor or an engineer and so on. The probability of actually becoming Ronaldo or Messi is small. There's way more opportunity to become an engineer, etc. So go ahead, Mr.
Yes. So even when you put what seems to be high returns, and I hope students are on this call, when you put those high returns with multiplied by that probability, the probability will cancel out the returns to the point that it will still be 7 times less than what the average person is earning in this conventional field. So so when I talk to them, I try to tell them that, look, I get, and I know, I've seen, like, for each one Ronaldo, for instance, right? You're probably like 20,000 students or 20,000 young people who probably wasted their youth. And it's such a hard truth to deal with. Everybody wants to play football, and I tell my son his Project Mbappe, but the same boy I'm telling his Project Mbappe learns his multiplication tables at age 3. Don't ask me how I did it. We'll talk about that on another webinar. At age 3, he will tell you 1 9 is 9, 2 9 is 18. Age 3, he was barely speaking. But I'm still telling him Project Mbappe, go and run, no problem. My son will write SAT. This one is me, I'm telling you, he will get a perfect score on the SAT math at age 12.
Amen.
He will like me later. Anytime he doesn't like me, I'll tell him to go and speak to Uncle Amos. Let Uncle Amos remind him of why we are doing this thing. But me, I do have. Do you get what I mean? What I'm saying is that, and I'm saying this because these are some of the things that could form what you would then call distractions, right? The way our kids are thinking, on one hand, we are not thinking like there's a future beyond what we have right now. Yeah, again, and I get that because I was in that space. And genuinely, I thank God for people that insisted that we kept on moving in the direction of excellence. I thank God for my mom, thank God for my dad, thank God for teachers that invested in me. I thank God for all of those realities, right? So for anybody on the call, math is something that if you want to do it, you can. You see, the only restriction, and that's the thing. Sorry for sounding so passionate, but that's the thing. The only restriction is, do you want to? You cannot sit in a room with Mr. Amos and myself and say, oh, what we say was the problem. I don't accept what you said that problem was. I'm already refusing your excuse to the problem. Because now we are saying, okay, from wherever it is, we can figure it out. Right? We are willing to figure it out from wherever it is, and then we are willing to take you on that journey to where we need to be.
Wow. Mr. Yinka, well done. So, by the way, parents, I want to just be very honest with parents on this call. Like, I go to Nigeria sometimes. I was even telling my wife now that I'm preparing to go, God willing. We're building a STEM center in my secondary school, FGC Lagos. I don't think I told you, Mr. Yinka. We're building a science, technology, engineering center. So Jets Club, remember those days, Jets Club? Do you know?
Yeah, Jets Club.
So I was the president of Jets Club when I was a student. And now what we're trying to do is we want to work with the school. And I'll tell the parents my little secret. So parents, there's a country called Singapore, which I'm trying to find my book here on Singapore math. Do you know that an AI company is giving them like some sort of $300 million deal? Why is an AI company putting $300 million in Singapore's math education framework or a partnership with some of the Singaporean agencies? Because Singapore has some of the best math students. So what I'm trying to do is I want to also have Nigeria become a hub for the best math students to also be brought into quantum computing, AI and stuff. And even if you're in America, there's hope. Don't get me wrong. I know some of the parents are like, why is he talking of overseas and not America? Because we're not hungry enough in America sometimes. Let me explain. Parents, let's do an assignment. How many countries of the world give their children 3 months off in the summer for math? 3 months! 3 months! June, July, and August? How are you going to be number one? Mr. Yinka, how will I be number one if I'm taking 3 months off? You can't. And so the point is, in America, we need a revolution, Mr. Yinka. And here's the point I'm trying to bring. I think that the rigor you have in Abuja, and Mr. Yinka, sometimes when I meet your math teachers in Nigeria, I still have to shake small. You guys are serious. You guys are very intense. And I know it's not all about intensity, right? But the reality is you guys have something we need. We need what you guys have in places where people are hungry. Do you know that students were studying for 5 hours a day after school, sometimes in math? Let me tell you guys a quick story, and then back to you, Mr. Yinka. Any closing remarks? And then I have a quick screen I want to share. While I do the closing remarks, here's one thing. Parents, please put any questions, thoughts, comments, objections. Mr. Yinka, some people agreed with you that the hunger, that's one of the things. Children, how do you get hungry? And I know there's some children on this call. Your parents might have shouted at you before. They might have told you, in my days, we used to walk to the village. We used to walk and fetch water. By the way, I used to fetch water. Oh, I know how to fetch water. It's not even funny, right? Those days, we used to do that. But children, what I want to encourage you to do is this, right? Pray that your heart gets to a point where you are inspired, as Mr. Yinka says, and you tell your parents, I don't want summer break. Like protest. I want to learn. Bring me with the lead learning people now. Let me be learning. Because Nigeria is still producing some of the top students in K-12 education, in mathematics especially. So what are they doing? Let's go and learn and catch them. So that's my heart cry, parents, is how can we work with things happening overseas in India, Singapore? I have my partner, one of my business partners on the call from Singapore on this call too. And we want to bring quality education so that your children can lead in the AI revolution. So here are some things for parents to think about by Monday. Mr. Yinka, if you have any link for diagnostics, please put it in the chat, I beg. Let them start practicing with the diagnostic side, right? And then also the people from Life, the team, let's put a link for just a free diagnostic or assessment, whatever tools we have. Number 2, parents, please, your children need notebook. Even though Life, my company, has started making notebooks. So if you want to buy notebook, we'll sell you notebook. Maybe Lead and Life should make notebooks and pens. Number 3, when your children come back from school, they need to know exactly what they did. Not just, I did page 5 or I did page 10. No, what was the topic you learned? Because do you know that the way math works is that when you know the concept or the pattern that you are trying to get, even when you are sleeping, do you know there are some days that when I was teaching this MIT course, true story, I woke up in the morning and my head was thinking of mathematics problems that we were doing or preparing to do. I know it sounds strange, but the point is you need to know what the topic is that your brain should be ruminating on, if that makes sense. So parents, your children should know what they are working on exactly. Then they should explain things back to you when you do the practice problems. So the way you know you've mastered a topic is that you can explain it back to somebody. You should be able to tell them, this is what I learned, here's how to do it. And then once a week, about the Friday, Saturday you see here, we need to mix things up a little bit. I would say that children should mix what they've learned recently with what they've learned in the past. That's what the research is showing. And I don't know, Mr. Yinka, maybe how you guys do it there, but this idea of interleaving or mixing problems or review, and I think standardized testing does some of that. So again, Mr. Yinka's email is in the chat, but let me just finish with one more slide here, and then we'll just wrap up with a few more questions. Let me go back. Okay, so again, what happens next? Mr. Yinka, I'm going to beg you now. I think we have to have part 2 next week and or in the next couple of weeks and really try to nail down more strategies. If people want to work with Lead Learning is actually going to support some of our own students. So what we are doing is we're scaling up our programs for SAT, group tutoring, stuff like that. And what Mr. Yinka does for us is that he's a channel to a wider community of tutors. And so let them help us make sure that we can help every child reach their full math potential. Notice I didn't say every child meet their state standards. No. If your child reaches their full math potential, Mr. Yinka, what will happen if their child reaches their full math potential? Can you help us? What would that look like if somebody, let's ask that as a question. What would that look like for children to reach their math potential?
So I was going to say exactly, something exactly on that, right?
You're my twin brother now, they've said, some people say.
Go
ahead.
You said, yes. So when you said about, and again, I'm to the students, and you guys are the ones I'm speaking to. If you check what's going on in America right now, quite a number of the people who are leading in spaces, right, they are mostly immigrants. A lot of them are immigrants. A lot of my people that came in. I remember when I was trying to build my space abroad, like, grow my community abroad, the number of students and tutors I have abroad and all of that. One of the things that one of my mentors told me at the time, and I found out to be partly true, was that, Omo, if you're really trying to grow your tutoring base, you probably should just focus on immigrants, because they are the ones that are really looking for opportunities. That if you focus on the people who are, like the core US citizens, many of them don't really care. And the problem now with that is that your child, I'm speaking to people on this call, because I believe if you're here, it's because you want something. The child is going to school with those people. And those people are the ones setting the standards for what your child thinks is acceptable, or what your child might be thinking that is, that boy that I said that is currently doing undergraduate math now, speaking about what happens when someone hits their full math potential. When I remember then, when he would come back and tell me that, oh, he has the highest score in math, then I would ask him, I'll tell him that if you're trying to get into Harvard, if you're trying to get into MIT, your competition is not your classmates. Your competitions are in China. So if you're telling me that you're the highest in your class, it doesn't concern me. Like literally. When he told me, this is grade 9, told me he had the perfect score in his math in the PSAT. I just told him, okay, so what do you want me to do? But like, should I kill a cow for? And that's the typical Nigerian parent. Okay, so let's move on. Because it's expected. If the potential is there, why not? So what I'm saying is that as parents, we need to be deliberate about building other environment that inspire our children away from school. See, that same child, right? If the child was in a space where everybody was running, he would run. If he was in a space where the standard was so and so, Mr. Amos, I taught math at a Canadian school in Abuja, Midlands Canadian school. That was when I left the American school I was working with. I was with them for a year. Also, and for some reason, for whatever reason, I just said, you know what, the standard in this class is a 96. If you do an assignment and you get below 96, I'm texting your parents. I just made a big deal. I don't even know where I got. I was just trying out stuff. But when I saw that the students were responding, I then kept at it. The average grade for that graduating set was 93. It's the best they ever had. That was the first set. It was the best they ever had, 93. So what I realized was that they will only run as far as you chase them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes by chasing, I don't mean physically chasing as parents, because if you're physically chasing as parents, you now become the bad guy. It now looks a bit, What usually, one of the things that can inspire evolution is spaces. So what did I do last time? Last year, I took some of my students to Hong Kong. I think I shared that with you, right?
Yes, the Hong Kong.
Yes, the Hong Kong.
Parents, Hong Kong is number one. Tied with Singapore.
So I'm trying to drop the gist now. So, of the Hong Kong is smaller than the smallest state in the US in landmass. Hong Kong is smaller than Abuja. It's really small. In that small island or that small space, right? I don't know if it's an island, but in that small space, they have 3 top 50 schools worldwide. 3. That was when I realized that the whole idea of Ivy League, we are just deceiving ourselves. Even that idea of Ivy, there are 3 in that small space. So I took my students and we visited the Chinese University of Hong Kong, and we visited Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. When we went into those universities, we just interacted with them, interacted with their recruitment officer and all of that. When you see thousands of students and you are interacting with them, and then they now tell you that the average SAT score is somewhere around, if you have to be considered, you need somewhere around 1530, 1540. Suddenly, 1530, 1540 becomes normal because everybody you were speaking to has it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everybody so you entered, you spoke to this person, oh, how are you doing? And everybody had. So when we now went back to our hotel, you needed to see the students scolding themselves. They are just sat in the corner. It was one of the most fulfilling moments of my life, Mr. Amos. Like, I was so fulfilled because it was like they were now asking themselves that, what were we even doing? When you tell us, I was just looking at them. I sat to where I sat in my own space. So, like this year, for instance, and it's interesting you mentioned Singapore because this year I intend to take students to Singapore, right? And it's for two reasons. They have some good schools, but then they also have. I also want them to be like I want us to. It's not just an academic and educational tourism project. It's also not just academic. It's also leadership tourism, right? So let's go and witness the transformation story of Singapore. Let's ask them how it happened, right? So I'm strategic about our visiting places with people we speak to, so that again, I'm trying to build their minds. Again, it's called lead learning for a reason and all of that. So because you mentioned Singapore, that's why I also said that. What I'm saying is this: as parents, one of the things you should watch is your students' environment, right? What is their environment telling them? Because at the end of the day, their environment will probably be louder than yours. Once a child has their evolution set in place, as a parent, your job becomes less. Do you know, Mr. Amos, that I have children that they speak to me about their results by themselves? Their parents are an afterthought. After we've spoken and we've said, no, what happened? Because we've already set the target. Mr. Inka, I had 2 A minuses. A minuses is why they are calling me, Mr. Amos. A minuses is why they are calling me A minus. A minus, because the target is 4.0. I will send you some screenshot of some chat. So they will now say, what happened in this? No, next semester it can't be this. Because they've seen that, again, I want to go to Brown's University. If I want to go to Brown's University, the requirement is 3.8. 3.8 means that A minus is 3.7. A minus is bad. So that means that if that child takes an assessment and gets 89 on it or 88 on it, the child will cry because that's a B minus. A B minus is 3.3. Once you put yourself in that position where excellence becomes normal, either by staying in those spaces or setting it as a target by yourself, then mediocrity is just unacceptable. So this is, I'm telling you, I have them as students. I'm not talking about people that, I've been doing a mentorship, a webinar series where I'm just speaking to some of my students for the past. I don't know if you saw all of those updates, so that they're hearing it from my mouth. I'm asking this one, and this one is telling me, this particular guy is telling me that he can't really speak about his GPA, that it has fallen off and all of that. What was the GPA that has fallen off? 4.8. That's what he was afraid to tell me. 4.8 over 5. That's what he's afraid to tell me. That he thinks I'll be angry. So please, for those of us with kids, and again, it's not impossible. What I would say is this, right? For those of us with kids, you see, there are two things. Me, I'm the fire when it comes to just like I'm the bad cop. Mr. Amos is the good cop. Mr. Amos will bring all the inspiration and everything that makes your child happy. Me, fire for fire, it was happen. Like again, like honestly, it was happen. I can't. Do you know why? Because here's the problem, Mr. Amos. I have seen that it's possible.
Yeah.
And you see, many of these children don't understand that their realities are already starting. Their realities, you're already writing your possibilities now. They don't get it. Do you know, Mr. Amos, I had a student who he wrote his SAT today. From the practice test, this guy should give me 1.5 something. Do you know what his GPA is? His GPA is like 2.4.
Wow.
Why? Because grade 9, grade 10 was plain. Absolute plain. If you ask him now, they brought him to me last year. The first SAT he did without any, he's so smart. The first SAT he did without any practice, he got 1330. Without any practice. This same 1330, some parents would be, because that's like 91st percentile. Do you understand what I'm saying? But yeah. So my point is, if it's possible, why are we not going for it? That's the question. If these realities are possible, why are we not going for it? Because some of the things that this team would give them easily today, if you want to try to get it later in future, you would sweat more than now. When we went to HKUST, sir, one of the things I realized is that, like the Chinese government, they are actually investing in education, right? So they're trying to get the best in. I think it was when Trump was having, I hope I'm able to speak before they will come and arrest me from Nigeria. But anyway, when
Trump they won't arrest you. You'll be okay.
Okay. Well, okay, yeah, freedom of speech. So when Trump was having that issue with Harvard, right? I think it was the whole Free Palestine stuff, and then he said that, and then he was going to send some Harvard students away. Chinese University of Hong Kong said that anybody, as long as you were able to get into Harvard, come, full ride. As long as you're able to just come, just come. We speak about scholarships into the best universities. Do you know, I was telling my students recently, I sat them down, I was telling them, and even at an event I went to speak at recently, I was telling them that while somebody's looking for one school to give you scholarship, there are schools that 10, 15, there are students that 10, 15 students are begging to come. And I was telling them that the reason why is because all the schools that have all the scholarship opportunities, they are looking for the same things.
Yep.
I don't know if you get what I'm saying. So if you shoot for Harvard, if you shoot for Harvard, all the other schools are looking for the same thing that Harvard is looking for. So they all look for you at the end of the day.
Yep.
That's why rarely would you see someone, you see, oh, someone has 4 point something. There was a child in Nigeria. I spoke to the mother, that was last year, because she also does, a bit of academic counseling and all of that. The boy had $3 point something million in offered scholarships. All of them, full ride, like 10 of them in offered scholarship. So what I'm saying is, again, that's why I'm saying him is ice, because he's the one that will inspire them. Me is King. No, sorry, not sorry, again, I apologize for my, but me is Ginger, right? Let me do what Ginger.
That's a metaphor, parents. They don't leave learning. So parents, we're about to wrap up. Give us 5 minutes, parents, and we'll be done. But Mr. Yinka, next time, please, can we speak about more education in general? So instead of just maths, if you see what I mean. And if you have a team member from English department, we have an English person here too. I don't know if Miss Dream, we have some of our team members that, come from different backgrounds. And one of the things we're hoping to do with these meetings, parents, is to give you a chance to meet some of the people that are trying to help your children reach their full math potential. Parents, look at the title of this book. My team, please, can we put this in the chat? Can you guys imagine? Look at the title. The Secrets to Singapore's World-Class Math Curriculum, right? And the fact that there's a book that says that, it tells you that there's something they're doing that is working. Now, here's the thing. By the grace of God, there is actually a curriculum better than Singapore's math curriculum, right? Or at least a little more advanced. I say that politely, and it comes from Mr. Yinka and I's work. So I've written a program called Counting to Calculus, and it's actually more advanced than any country's math curriculum. All I did was I basically said, my students will be like Leonard Euler. And if you're going to be like the best mathematician, you have to do calculus 1, 2, and 3 in high school, not college, in high school. And nobody in the world is forcing anybody to do Calc 3, linear algebra, and differential equations. But part of my work with MIT is teaching linear algebra to students in high school. I was teaching university mathematics, right? We were writing a curriculum with the MIT professor. We're using that material with high school students. And do you know that those students in 2 weeks, some of them started doing advanced linear algebra concepts. In 2 weeks, these were people that are like 10th grade. They were doing linear algebra, matrices, multiplying matrices of all of that. So the point is, parents, the potential your child has is massive. But the current school system wasn't built to help them reach their potential. So you have to find another space. So let me turn off my video. Parents, I don't know, Mr. Yinka, I'm going to have them just look at this for a second. Look at this logo, Mr. Yinka. I don't know if I've told you about this program I started. So if you look at this logo, the goal of this logo, right, is to create the space for parents. This is one of those spaces, right? This is called Counting to Calculus Squad. Now, this program is free on Fridays. It's just a Friday, 1 day a week program. But this program is saying, it was inspired by one of our students. I think he's actually on the call. As I was talking with him, I realized something. You know, if you want to go to top universities, you actually should compete in mathematics. You should do some competition in math and science and things like that. And so what I realized was that why don't we create our own squad? Why don't we create our own math competitive team? So the Counting the Calculus team is saying, we don't take summers off. We are learning year round, right? And that's where if you have that happening year round, then those children can reach their math potential. So Singapore has a lot to teach us. This is a book for parents to read because there is a method, which is actually very similar to Nigeria. There's a method that is used in this resource. And we'll talk more about that at another time. So parents, let's just take maybe 1 or 2 minutes. Is there any burning questions? One comment a parent made, Mr. Yinka, they said that the teacher training is part of the problem. They said that the lack of exposure to rigor has stalled a lot of our children across the pond. But also, I do not blame the teachers, because one cannot offer what they do not have. Rigor has not also been part of the teacher training. And today, parents, by the grace of God, one of the reasons why I am where I am in this state is to establish a teacher training program. That's one of my visions, my dreams. What that means is, the parent who shared that, thank you so much. We agree with you. And we're starting a teacher training program that can teach children to think like the best mathematicians. You know, parents, you know, when you go to Walmart, you see generic products, right? Like Walmart is generic and this and that. And then you go to some other stores and it's more expensive, more high class. The American education system, and I'm so sorry, I'm not trying to put down Walmart. If Walmart wants to sponsor us, we're happy to talk. But what I want to say is this, though. Do you know that the education children receive in America is like generic education with no rigor? And so therefore, you need to now find for your child, where is the advanced grocery store that has advanced materials for me? And the idea of counting to calculus is something Mr. Yinka said. So parents, let me end with my own quick story and then final remarks from Mr. Yinka. Parents, in the 1900s, a lot of the best mathematicians in the world came out of a country called Hungary. Hungary. You might have heard of Hungary, Romania, that part of Europe. And what you find out is that they had a circle, the math circle. Who you spend time with matters. Let me just say, who you spend time with matters. Do you know that the guy who beat me in high school, remember I told you guys I was #1 in primary school, in my primary school, I was the best in national common entrance in my school, we thank God. But when I went to high school, I met some people, they were not playing with anybody. Do you know where some of those people are today? They were my friends, right? One of them got 2 degrees from MIT. One of them got his PhD partly connected to Yale. One of them is a medical doctor in Dallas. What is interesting is this. When I would get a bad score, right? Some of these people would call me out. Amos, what's up? What's up? What? Like, I had to sit up. Parents, the people your children are surrounded by matter. You can either be a thermostat or you can be a thermometer. A thermometer is influenced by the temperature around it. A thermostat sets the temperature. If you're a student on this call, go set the temperature. Set the temperature. Say, this is how I will live. Don't be sitting around, oh, but we got a B. We got a B. What are you doing? Even when you got a 97, what happened with the 3% that you could get next time? Because deliberate practice, which is what we can talk about more next week, or the next time we do this, Mr. Yinka, that idea of this is what I got wrong and this is what I'll do better next time is very important. So those are my sort of closing remarks. I did want to tell everyone on the call that, again, there are other people that help us make this possible. So thank you to all my team members, and, you know, I'll introduce them at some point. But Mr. Yinka, what are your closing remarks as we close for today?
Oh, yes. You know, when you said something about, what's it called now? Notebooks. So I quickly went to take some of the notebooks that we carefully designed, and they are, I mean, like for our students, they're absolutely free, right? And I'll show you this because, I mean, even how we wrote, what we wrote inside and all of that, you know, tracking their journaling, their study plans. I don't know if you guys can see all of that here. So I just want to reiterate that point. In fact, for our students, we teach them that if you're not putting down your reflections, you cannot study. So if you have a study time or you're setting up to study or work or whatever, if you're not putting down your thoughts in a manner that we can deal with, you are not studying. And note taking is beyond taking notes.
Sorry, Mr. Yinka will reconnect here. Apologize. He was showing us the notebook, and that notebook that he was showing us, I'm going to actually ask Mr. Yinka, please, can you give us the link to get those notebooks? And is there a way that we can have that to our students in America? Because I think that would be very, very important as well. I do see that there's a quick question here. Chinon, so I know our time is up. Are there any questions, thoughts, comments, objections?
Right, no question for now.
Okay. And so somebody said, how can the parents support the students without creating additional pressure? And what are the first steps that a grade 10 student should take when they understand other subjects? So first of all, remember, the reason why your students might struggle in math, that's what the question is asking, is actually because of the method of instruction. Parents, some of you are going to have to pull your kids out of their math classrooms. Some of you are going to have to pull your kids out of school, because here's the thing. And this is not just coming from me. This is coming from a lot of mathematics educators. If I taught you anything in life the way we teach people in school, if I teach you anything in life, riding a bicycle, building a house, if I teach you anything in life the way we teach children mathematics, you would hate that thing. That's what somebody said. If we taught you anything else the way we teach you math, you would hate that thing. That means that the math education system is so bad that even the best teachers inside it are chained and can't function well. That means your child, if they're in such a system, you might have to actually take them out. And I'm serious, math is now gold. If your child doesn't know math in the AI revolution, they are in serious trouble. It's not an option. And here's why, parents, because quantum computing is coming. Do you know that quantum computing is a lot of math? Space exploration is coming. It's a lot of math. Rocketry and all that is a lot of math. AI stuff is a lot of math. STEM is a lot of math. So not being good at math is not an option anymore. Everybody has to be good at it. And it is possible. We saw it in the 1700s before the internet. People were good at math because of the way he taught. So if you use a book like this, your child cannot be bad at math, because this book teaches them at the pace of their mastery. And so parents, I really want to encourage you to, like, all the things that we might have thought about in our school systems, all the things that people might think in our school system of this is just the way it is. It's not so. Your child is capable of so much more. Sorry, Mr. Inka, tell us about the notebooks you have.
Yeah, so I was saying that, so we did this deliberately, right? Primarily just to get them to know, okay, we are making an investment in note taking. So this, in fact, we call them study parts. I don't know if you guys can see that right here at the bottom. All right. And that's really, so we don't really call them notebooks. And that's because, like I said, if you're not taking notes, you're not studying. And I said, note taking is more than just writing down or just the discipline of writing down, right? One of the issues with math, I should mention, with a lot of the students in America or in the American curriculum spaces, is that they are not big on processes. They are more fascinated with answers. And even in how they test and they grade, like the SATs, and it's more of, okay, can you get the answer one way and all of that. And I get what they're supposed to teach, but at the same time too, it limits them. That's why you could find a student that is doing relatively well in math, and you ask him for the area of a trapezium, and he can't tell you offhand. Now, for us in Nigeria or a British curriculum student, you would never forget, because every time you had to solve it, you had to write it down. You have to write A is equal to half B1 plus B2 times H. A is this, this is that, that is that, that is that. And then where it now becomes a major crisis for a lot of them is when you've not learned to work with procedures, you've learned to do stuff in your head just because they let you get away with it. Then when you get to the point where you can no longer do math in your head, the math is now a lot. Maybe you want to integrate some trigonometric, some product of a trigonometric and exponential function by parts. You can't do that in your head, right? But you are not used to taking down procedures, or you want to divide polynomials. You're not used to taking down procedures. There is no way. So then they begin to struggle. And you're like, oh, this child is smart. So why is he struggling with numbers? So note taking is a skill as a parent. In fact, I mean, for me, I wish I could show you the inside of this book. There is a space for dates. You must write your date. You must write the topic of what you're studying. You must, like, it must be organized. Your thoughts, you must learn to organize your thoughts and put them together. It doesn't take anything from you to do, right? But instead, it enhances your learning. So I just thought to, drop that, what's it called now, as a side. Then I want to just quickly say something about one of the comments on the chat, even though, I've lost the questions. But I was saying to somebody that there's something called positive peer pressure, right? Which is what myself and Mr. Amos are trying to provide. Have a community of students where the standard is high, right? So for me, I feel like that's a reason why, every child should be a part of, especially if you're around that age group, should be a part of that community. It's beyond just what we are saying, it's how people look at each other or how people communicate with each other. I remember I had a student who the mom had coming from for me to counsel, and he had C's and I think 1D and all of that. And so while I was talking, the guy was just chill. So then another of my students came in, and he had just, because they go to the same school, both American schools. So he had just come with his own result. And so I just asked him casually. I said, Daniel, how many B's? His name is Dan. I said, Daniel, how many B's did you have? And Daniel got offended that I would assume that he would have a B. And so I saw the other guy's face just get up like, wait, what's going on here? It was interesting that what my talking could not adjust. That guy's random response set the standard, right? So a culture is really a culture when someone without an authority is the one implementing it. That's when you know you have a culture within the system. If someone that does not have authority to is the one implementing it and saying this is wrong, then that's now when you know you have a system. There was someone else that spoke about rigor. Yes. So I was going to say that, again, my thoughts, please don't, just bear with me for a moment. I think that America, one of the issues that I have with the American schools over here and with the students I have, from America also, is that it's almost like we are afraid to make children feel bad. And so we have that everybody is a winner approach. Everybody is not a winner. If not, winning would not mean anything. You have to fight to win. And if you don't win, there should be people around you to help you through that process to ensure that you win next time. But everybody is not a winner. So when you have that kind of perspective, right, to learn, then it now produces that lackadaisical attitude. So it's, for me, such a major distinction, right, that as parents, we need to, how do I say this now? Good is only good when there's the option of bad. If not, it really, like, again, even the logic behind it doesn't even hold. So as parents, these are the ideologies, and ideologies are so powerful. Mr. Amos, I told you the last time that there was one set of students that came to me to prep for SAT. And I'm going to put them side by side. They came to prep for SAT. And that set were very, very funny sets. Again, from the two main American schools in Abuja, they had come to my space. And do you know, I had to be telling them that, because they were saying, Mr. Nka, if I just get 1-2, I'm okay. The last one I did, my PSAT, I got 980. If I can just get 1-2. When they came, I had to be making them say after me, a 1,400 is possible. They'll say a 1,400 is back. I think the things I've seen within my two small eyes like this, Mr. Amos. I say after me, a 1,400 is possible. They say a 1,400 because, like, the level of I say, and your parents are paying not my father and my mother. Oh, hey, my God. Oh my God. So funny. So I had to be saying, say after me. I think one of them got a 1-4. We didn't even talk about 1-5. We couldn't even talk about it. Now, side by side with another parent that called me, and this other student also goes to the same school. That's what I'm saying that is possible. This boy's mom called me. This was this year. Said that, somebody gave her my son's number. She was complaining about the son. She was just like, and she said that that her son in grade 11 had written the SAT and he got 1,480. And she told him, oh my God, why would you get 148? No, I wasn't 10, he wrote it. How would you get 1,480, something? And then he wrote again that even that one, I think he got a message from College Board and he started tutoring for College Board or something, just doing some stuff like that, And then he wrote again, and this time he still got 1,490, and that she doesn't know what to do. And that was the complaint she was complaining to me. I just put the phone down. I was just thinking, and I was remembering the other set of students. Perspective is everything. Perspective is powerful, Mr. Amos. That's why this thing you're doing for me, this thing you're doing for me is more important than the class that they are learning. Because like I said, they can get information everywhere.
Yep.
If you are hungry for information, you will find it.
Yes, sir.
You
So,
will
Mr.
find
Inka,
it.
there's a question in the chat, but parents, I know our time is up. But you know when you're watching a soccer match and there was extra time that happened. I'm sorry, we entered extra time. Sorry. But parents, I just want to leave you with a few ways to find us. If you have any questions, Mr. Inka also, please, you can tell them how can they find Mr. Inka. And then parents, if you don't mind, I do want to show you a screen of my team, because if you ever get interaction from somebody from live, right, I want to make sure that you know the people from the live team. So what I want to do is I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm just going to go through a couple of pictures. So parents, you can see some of the people that were working with our team. We have and then Mr. Inka's team, of course, you guys will begin to see some of them, because if we're going to change the lives of 1 billion students, it's going to take time. So this is my Life Academy team. Some of these guys are just consultants, and some of them work for us full time. But you'll be hearing from them. We have Miss Mercy, Miss Dream, who does English, SAT, and English for our students. Mr. Michael does mathematics. He's one of the best math instructors in the world. I'm just being honest. No bias. He's very good. And then we have Mr. Joseph, IT. Mr. Chinonso is a consultant to us. He also is a part of an organization called Giva, and their organization and ours will be working together to transform education in Nigeria by God's grace, and just work alongside them. Mr. Sunday does some tutoring coordination. Morris is in Rwanda, and he helps us with the webinars. And then Miss Joy is in Kenya, where we'll be starting. So basically, we have Rwanda, Kenya, Zambia, Burundi, Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, and Angola. And our goal is, let's transform education in the whole continent by God's grace. But then also in America, which is where I am with my family. Just a couple more slides. Just to show them. By the way, Mr. Inka talked about mentorship. Our company is actually going to start mentoring college students. We want children to go from the time we meet them until the time they become doctors and lawyers. They should keep in touch. We are there for them. So parents, when we say we are Life Academy and we are part of this life ecosystem, we actually want to help your children succeed in life all the way till when they get to university and beyond. A couple more updates. Next week, Mr. Inka, remember I said lead learning tutors, please come. We are going to be hosting this webinar free for 4 days. From Monday to Thursday, you're welcome to join in. Those are on the East. I know some of my students on the East Coast. You guys have not started school yet, some of you. So jump on this call when you can. Those in Nigeria, jump on the call too. Those in Kenya, jump on the call. I will be interviewing different instructors from Singapore, Nigeria, all around to just talk about math excellence, and we're actually going to be doing problems. So this is not just talk. We're actually going to do problems. So Mr. Inka, I'm waiting for you to join me on one of these. Let's do problems. Mr. Inka, one day I wanted to do partial fraction decomposition. I was hungry for mathematics. And so I had to go look for it, because sometimes mathematics is like food. You say, I need some partial fraction decomposition problems. So please join us next week, parents, for this webinar. This is Monday through Thursday, only about an hour, where we're just going to do math problems, live STEM instruction on YouTube, and so on. Okay, a couple more slides. I know I told parents something about you might have to pull out your kids, right? What I'm saying is that online education, especially in America, might become the way forward, because the standards are too low. You can't compete with Taiwan and Hong Kong and Singapore. You can't. Their standards are on another level, but your children are applying to the same schools as them. So therefore, if you need your child to get a place with the community, our company has that during the day, right? Because we believe that sometimes online education is actually better because it allows that rigor to be present. So these are some of the pictures I wanted to leave us with. I actually have a couple more. SAT, ACT prep.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Amos. Sorry. Not only does it, it also takes them away. It also takes them away from that space that defines what success is, right? It's so important. And I feel like for me, my kids, the only way I can achieve what I want to achieve with them is to take them out of regular school in the next 3 years, right? So by the time they're in grade 2, they're out. Once they can read properly, and we are out. We'll sit down and we'll sort it out ourselves. So that's one of the advantages, that you're coming out of that system where someone is pegging your child that, oh, this is what you should know at this grade or at that grade. Sorry, Mr. Amos.
Yeah, no problem. So what Mr. Inka and I are saying is that sometimes the school system sets a ceiling for your child. You have to say, no, my child can do much better. So we're not going to have them sit in a system that says they can't do more. My last pictures, I'm sorry, this is actually relevant to us, is the SAT, ACT prep. Let me go back to it. I apologize. It should show up here in a second. So parents, we're doing SAT and ACT prep at 1 o'clock and 2:30 p.m. Eastern. So parents, this is the last two. So we actually have class, Mr. Inka, in a few minutes. So I'll probably let people go get ready. Some of our students on the call will be joining back. So at 1 p.m. SAT, ACT. Parents, let me say this loud and clear. Getting a perfect score within the life ecosystem should be normal. Like, that's normal. Getting a perfect score. Now, I know that some of us are already juniors and seniors. That's why parents were inviting 7th and 8th graders. They should come to this. Now, this is not a free program. This is for students who are paying customers, which leads me to one more thing. So we have SAT, ACT English. We're going to be starting in about 20 minutes. You can email me if you're interested in joining that. And then lastly, we have SAT Math and Science. Those who are already our students don't have to pay for this, okay? This is just for those who want to join in. Let me end with one more thing, parents. Thank you so much for joining us in the extra time. Let me say this, parents. It is important that you understand something very crucial in the AI revolution. We had a session 2 weeks ago with a computer scientist who's an AI researcher, a good friend of mine, and he's actually one of the advisors for our company in the AI. So our company actually has an AI division for business people, right? We build AI solutions for businesses and we do AI consulting for people. But here's what's interesting. I need parents to understand. The current education system is not ready for the AI revolution. So you have to find a way to supplement your child's education because the AI revolution will create a great divide. And that's what Mr. Inka said earlier. If your children only get the traditional AI education right now, then your children will actually not be as prepared. Your children need to be starting businesses. Your children need to learn how to be entrepreneurs. Your children need to be doing way more than any school system in America is giving them. Because the AI revolution will reward people that take initiative. And that's why we're here to serve. So those who are already my students, please know that, again, you're welcome to join any of these SAT, ACT courses. They're just part of the package. We want you to be the best. We want you to get perfect scores. I know that was a lot of pictures I showed, but I just wanted to let parents know we have all these things going on. And one of the ways we want to support parents is, parents, the AI revolution will cause so much confusion that you need to make sure you're working side by side with AI researchers so you understand where this is going. The AI that you are seeing right now is child's play. What you are seeing right now is just the beginning. When the systems begin to kick in, the current education system will be obsolete, like completely obsolete. That means that it's the people that understand the future of education that will be ready. What do I mean by it to be obsolete? Imagine having an AI agent that can answer any question at any time I have and build me any slide deck and websites and everything I need at any given time. That's where AI is going. And I'm not saying it's going there tomorrow. No, it's already come. It's just that people don't know. So we need to make sure our children understand what AI is going to do to education. We need to understand the benefits, the risks, and we did a webinar. So if someone from my team can post that, that would be great. So let me end with this, Mr. Inka, and then please come back, Mr. Inka. I would love to continue this conversation. Somebody said, if I had other classes to take, how do I balance everything? And this leads me to one more thing, Mr. Tarfa Rant. The reason why things are difficult is not because fundamentally the concepts are difficult. It's because of the time pressure that is put on people to learn those things because they're supposed to learn it for a certain time frame. The reason why things are difficult is not because the subjects themselves are difficult. It's because we tell you have to learn it in 8 weeks. You have to learn it in 16 weeks. You have to learn it in 32 weeks. But what happens when all knowledge is now embedded in AI systems? The school year calendar model is actually obsolete. Your child should not be forced to learn things at anybody's pace. They should go at their pace. Now, I'm not saying your child should sit down and be sleeping and going slowly. No, they should just learn it at their pace. They will pass the standards of any state, but they should keep going. Tell your child to keep running. Never stop until you get to the destination. Oh, but I finished all the curriculum for the school year in the first 2 months. Keep going, keep going. Oh, but I finished it. Keep going. The people that will win in the AI revolution are the people that are self-driven and keep going. And that's what we see from a lot of students who end up at MIT and Harvard. I'll tell you one of the traits they have. One of the traits that these people have is that they behave like Michael Faraday and James Clerk Maxwell. And the amazing thing about the James Clerk Maxwell and Michael Faraday thing is they were self-driven to solve problems. So parents, let me end with this. If you have a middle schooler, please give them the SAT and the ACT prep. Let them start studying. Let them get a perfect score by 9th grade so that they can put that away and focus on other things. Your children can go to MIT, Harvard, Princeton on full scholarships, or as Mr. Yinka said, maybe some other universities that are not called Ivy League, but they're still very good for free. But that planning starts in 5th grade. 5th grade is when I tell parents, that's when you start planning. I joke and say, if your child wants to go to MIT, one of the jokes I tell is, if your child wants to go to MIT, the time to start planning is when you find out you're expecting a child. So if you're expecting a baby, it's now you start planning, right? And it's a joke, right? But actually, it's not really a joke. Some kids start planning before they are even born. Buy them MIT t-shirt. That when they are born, give them the t-shirt, right? But what do we do about children who are already in 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade? How do you balance your schoolwork? Time management is a skill. Next Saturday, we're going to discuss the skills and strategies for academic excellence. Okay, so my team members, please, we have a topic. Skills and strategies for academic excellence. Everybody who's a part of our community, please graduate in the top 1% of your school. Minimum. Like top 1%, perfect score on the SAT, you can do it, and we're here to help you. Never allow anybody box you in. You can do much more with your life. And so parents, the last announcement is every Saturday at 10 a.m. This is before the webinar. Webinars are at 11 a.m. Eastern. At 10 a.m. Eastern, I open my camera and I'm literally here to meet with parents to talk about fears and concerns about the AI revolution. Literally, this is called the before party. So the before party is at 10 a.m. Eastern. Come and share your concerns. It's actually more of a dialogue. It's not a webinar. It's an actual Zoom meeting we have. 11 a.m. we'll have our parent webinars every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern. And then at 1 a.m. Eastern, we get to SAT, ACT. So that's our schedule for today. And so the last question that was just asked, I have a free book on my website that it's called, if you go to livingsensibly.org, there's a book called Achieving Excellence, Achieving Excellence in Academics. So if anybody here is struggling with their academics, please go to my website and download the free copy of the book. It's called Achieving Excellence in Academics, and I've put it in the chat. So I have a book that talks about time management, and that's how you balance all the classes. Parents, thank you so much. Students, thank you so much. And here's my pledge. Mr. Yinka, I would like to please buy 50 of those journals you have, and I want every one of my students to receive one. So parents, please send me your mailing address on my email, not here. Please send me your mailing address. Mr. Yinka, I would like 50 books for everybody who was on the call, as well as any of my students. So I want them to get those journals in their hands. So God willing, in September, when I visit, I'm going to visit in September, October, I'm going to come to Nigeria with an empty box, and the other box is just for the journals. So please, Mr. Yinka, print 50 for me. Actually, make it 100. Please, 100 books, and I would like to buy them for all our students and ship it off to their houses. So for those who are on the call today, you all get a journal because you guys have stuck with us through this extra time. We're very grateful. And thank you to all my team members, Dr. Colin Gann and others. I don't know if you guys want to say goodbye. Otherwise, I was going to say bye-bye to you all. Are we okay? Or team members, anything else I'm forgetting?
Yeah, thank you for the great chat, the great sharing. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you, Dr. Colin Gann. We're coming to Singapore. Yinka, when you plan to go to Singapore, can you let me know? I want to connect and maybe I'll join you guys. Dr. Colin Gann is our team member in Singapore, and he's actually he's going to help us in Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, and India. So Lead Learning and Life, why don't we just join hands and go together to Singapore? So if you want to go to Singapore, parents, I'm sorry we don't have a private jet yet, so you might have to pay for the ticket. But let's go to Singapore, the country that is one of the leaders in the world in math education and in many things. So, Mr. Yinka, please send me the dates. And then, parents, my email is just amosthemathguy@gmail.com. Please, if you don't mind, just share your mailing address. And well, if you don't want to share your mailing address, that's fine. Send me the nearest Amazon lockbox, and I'll send you a copy of the journal from Mr. Yinka. So thank you so much. Any final thoughts, Mr. Yinka, as we wave bye-bye?
No, I think we've kept them long enough. But again, my email was in the chat, so you can reach out anytime or through Mr. Amos. And again, like I said, I can't emphasize enough, especially for the kids that are on the call. I hope you heard something that meant something to you. Thank you so much for the opportunity once again, Mr. Amos.
Perfect. Okay, parents, thank you again. God bless. We'll see you guys next Saturday, same time, same station. And SAT students, go get your water and use your regular login. Let's log back in for SAT Math and English. For the parents who are on the call, if you know anybody who wants to join the SAT, I'll put the link in the chat. So give me 1 second. Let me grab the link just in case there's anybody who is wanting to join the call. but you guys are welcome to, of course, log off. Thank you again. God bless you guys. The SAT class link is in the chat. SAT teachers, let's go ahead and we'll get started. So if you want to join the SAT ACT, feel free to jump on the call on that Zoom link. That's where we'll be hanging out. So take care, and we'll talk to you all soon. For those who are watching on Facebook, I put the link in the chat. Those who want to do SAT, ACT prep will be starting class in 5 minutes. So feel free to jump on there. Today's session will start with English, and then we'll do mathematics after. Thank you so much. And thanks again to everybody who joined us. Thank you, Pedmax. Thank you, Blessing. Thank you, Mr. Ovika. We'll talk very soon. Or Dr. Ovika.